Welcome, 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 everyone. It's wonderful to see the library so full on a Monday night on a gorgeous, gorgeous day. First thing, you may have noticed there is something new on the seat of your chair, and we are asking for feedback about where you found out about this program and about what other programs you would like to have in the library. So you may know we have a wonderful new person on staff. She's standing at the back there. Tara, do you want to wave? Tara is our programming and outreach person. So we are thrilled that she's here, and she is collecting feedback to figure out how to best serve the community. So if you fill one of these out, put them on a little blue box by the door, she will pay close attention to them. So that's great. And so, as I said, who was outside today? I know you had to come outside to get to the library. Even I went outside today, and it was a very busy day at the library, but it was such a gorgeous day. I had to go for a walk, and it reminded me how incredibly lucky we are to live where we do. Oh my goodness, to just look around and see the wonderful nature and surroundings that we get to see and experience and that envelop us every single day. And I'm so grateful to be here. And I'm so grateful to have your company here as well. And one of those other treasures of the environment, of our natural world, is our wonderful Lynn Levine. And I couldn't remember all her accomplishments, so I'll have to read some. She has been a forester, environmental educator, and naturalist since 1978. Apparently she started as a toddler. I don't know. The first woman consulting forester in the Northeast. Lynn has created more than a dozen interpretive nature trails, with her most recent being one that incorporates an Abenaki perspective. Lynn has worked with children and adults and in classrooms and libraries, and has taken literally thousands of people into the forest to share her love of nature, and she brings them out. Isn't that nice? So she has found that connecting people to the forest through teaching about the outdoors is a powerful way to help others feel the same. In addition, Lynn has led forest immersion workshops where participants connect with nature through their senses. And she is the author and co-author of many books that you will see over at that table, one of which won the Independent Publishers of New England 2019, thank you, nonfiction book award, identifying ferns the easy way. So that we are all so lucky to have your expertise here, but tonight it's her generosity of spirit that we are celebrating with the publication of this wonderful new book, Robin's Song, where she brings together all of her loves of nature and music and poetry and the healing power within all of those, and she's sharing it with us. And thank you.
So I'm not sure how I hold this in my hand at the same time as stand up.
Okay. So, why don't you chat with the audience while I go get a lecture? How's that?
Oh, that sounds, I didn't even think I need that, but I guess I do. So it's amazing that you're all here. The first thing I wanted to do was thank Star for being so supportive over all these years and having me come here, and it's amazing. So I'm so glad. How many times can I say the word amazing? Okay, that's perfect. So maybe I'll just start with a story that I know really well. One of the things that my therapist has said, I should stand up, right? Yes. Thank you so much. One of the things that my therapist has said over the years is to be transparent. So I can let you know that I'm nervous. At the same time, I'm super excited, as you can imagine. And one of the things that happened recently was I am joined the Brattleboro Music Women's Choir, and I love it. It's just a great place, and I joined it because it was another place to be with people and have just connect with people and women. And I knew a third of the women before I got there, and I'm so happy that I get to know 2/3 of the women that I didn't know. So what happened, I guess I can do this. I recently joined the Brattleboro Women's Chorus because I wanted to be part of a supportive community. During a rehearsal break, a woman I didn't know came up to me. And she told me that she had read the article in the comments about me and Robin's song, and that she was so moved by it, and she wanted to let me know how meaningful it was, that I had shared so much of my story about my mental health pain in her own family, and mentioned she was a therapist. As we went back to singing, I found that I couldn't concentrate on the songs because I suddenly was feeling very anxious. Before then, I had only been excited about my program tonight, but I suddenly realized that I might also experience some stress. I went back over to the woman right there with the wonderful purple hair, and I had just met, and shared about what I was feeling. And I don't know how to do it.
Here.
Oh, good. I get help. That's the first thing that you do. She shared that it seemed very reasonable that I might feel both of these emotions at the same time. We again held hands, and I was able to catch my breath once more. I thanked her for helping me normalize what I was feeling. She then told me she would see me here tonight. What a blessing. Now, I will take a deep breath. Okay. Let me share with you why I wrote Robin's song. It was to help tweens and their parents have hope that there are ways to deal with these challenges that they may experience, anxiety or loss. Here is a brief description of the book. Robin, dealing with loss and anxiety, leaves Brooklyn to come to live in a small Vermont town with her cousin Darcey. Through nature, music, poetry, the tweens bond while Robin learns skills to deal with her emotions. Another critical component in this story is community. Robin is supported by her cousin, aunt, and grandmother, homeroom teacher, music instructor, guidance counselor, and the kids in the nature club. Okay. Ask for help. Yeah, exactly. Oh, that's right. Since I was in my 20s, I have had the ongoing support of therapists, my psychopharmacologist, my husband Clough, who I met when I was 22, and my daughter Brooke. They are always there for me, whether I was happy, whether I am happy, or I'm feeling fine. Most importantly, they also support me when I'm anxious or depressed. In addition, I have participated several times in an online outpatient clinic, a PHP program, and it's getting better. Oh, that's cool. This way. That makes more sense. Okay.
All right, now we're working.
Yeah, good. So, what I was saying, in addition, I have participated several times in an online outpatient PHP program, which Tim here knows all about. Presently, 2 different ongoing online mental health support groups. One is called Women and Aging. The other is called Allies. We are about a dozen people, young and old. All of us have basic understanding that we each deal with a wide variety of mental health challenges. It's a given. That's why it's such an important group to me. One funny story is that when I was going through a tough stretch, I shared how hard I am on myself and that I needed to be perfect. Anyone else feel like they do? Doesn't exist. You're so right. David, one of the members of the group, asked, "So who do you have to be perfect for?" I didn't have an answer, and that made me laugh so hard that I instantly broke out of my depression, the episode of it. And then I kept on saying to him, "Thank you so much. Thank you." In all the meetings past, I just kept on thanking him. In my book, Robin also achieved some of her healing by giving to others. For me, I have learned that giving is another key to maintaining my mental health. Just to mention a few examples, as Star has said, I really have taken thousands of people into the woods. Some of them with Betsy Whitaker's class. I started the Dummerston Conservation Commission. I've designed 11 interpretive trails, like Star said. And I've written 6 books, which are there, over there. When I wrote Robin's song, a large community of folks helped me through this 4-year process. In the front of the book, I have included a list of the 40 people who I have thanked specially, including Martha right there. Several of them are here with us today. I would like to take a moment for special acknowledgement of a couple of those people. One of them is Lindsay Glayback-Royce, some of whose middle grade students 2 years ago read Robin's song and critiqued it for me. I rewrote some parts of the book based on their suggestions. Some of them, I don't think any of them are here tonight. Who knows? I also want to mention that the school counselor in Robin's song is based upon Lynn Borowski, who is here somewhere. There! Okay, there's Lynn. In addition to her incredible career as a middle school special educator at Putney Central School, she led the effort to immerse students of the entire pre-K to 8th grade student body in the school's forest, and to help them become attached to the woods and to become emotionally balanced young people. Amazing. Finally, I would like to share the book's dedication to my husband, Clough Adler, who is the most loyal of men, an exceptional editor, and by the way, he's been my partner for 50 years. The book is also dedicated to my amazing grandsons, Ty and Teddy. I can't wait for them to be able to read this book. No, Ty can read it. He just might not understand it. He's only 6. So let me set the stage and read from my book. I even remember where it is. Oh, cool. Okay. So where it starts off is Chapter 1, Robin's coming. The sun had just started settling when Darcey heard the car pulling into her driveway lined with glowing yellow and orange daylilies. She knew it had to be her cousin Robin. Only the week before, they had been together at Robin's mom's funeral in a stone church in Brooklyn, just a few blocks from where Robin and her mother lived. With a big smile, Darcey ran over and pulled up the front door, and it was open, the front door of the 4-wheel drive station wagon. Robin had long reddish hair and a saggy look on her face. So that's the introduction to the book. And then I'm going to skip to one of the sections that talks, well, you'll hear it. Darcey waited about a half an hour until Robin appeared in the kitchen. They headed outside. There was a chill in the air, but the sun was shining. Darcey pointed to her special tree. Best if you first look at it from a distance so you can see the whole tree. Robin tilted her head and neck. It's really tall and wide. It takes up so much of the sky and it's turning this brilliant color, brown or reddish brown. Doing it right now. Darcey motioned for her to come closer. See the stripes going up and down the bark with a little red color? That's how I know it's a red oak. I call my tree Strong. Let me introduce you to Strong. This is Robin. Now I'll show you how I get strength from her. Darcey put her arm out wide and hugged her tree. She took a deep breath as she pressed her cheek to it. She instantly felt calmer. Guess what I did to them? I guess I can give it a try. Wait, I'm sorry, I missed it. Would you like to find a tree of your own to hug? I guess I could give it a try. Great, I'll close my eyes while you look. After what felt like forever, Darcey heard the wonderful words. I feel like I have found one. You can open your eyes now. Darcey said, yeah, show me. Robin pointed to her tree, which was lit up by the sun. It's big like your tree. Its leaves are yellow and brown. I love that they are more than one color. Robin thought, maybe this tree could help. Why don't we get closer? They took several small steps toward it, kicking a small branch out of the way. What's all that stuff on the bark? It's lichen. Grandma taught me that it's not just one organism. It's made of two different species. One is algae, and the other is fungi. And they help each other out. You could say they take a liking to each other. Kind of silly, but it helps me remember what it's called. Robin shrugged her shoulders. You sound like a science textbook, but there's something really amazing in what you said. If two species like algae and fungi can get along so easily, why can't we humans, all one species, do the same? Sure is sad. So what kind of tree did I pick out? I bet you know. I do. It's a beech. You picked out a really special one. Most of them are diseased, but yours is so healthy and beautiful. I don't know about hugging it, though. Not required. Just know that the more you get to know it, the more special it will become to you. Robin pulled her hair tightly back. I think I'm ready to go back now. It would be great to play some piano. I get it. You'd like some time alone. You got it, Robin said.
There's a request to speak closer to the mic if you can.
Oh, sure, I can do that.
Thank you.
Sure.
There you go.
Yeah.
So, first I'm going to introduce Michael, and here's Michael Clough. For 41 years, as you heard, I was a forester and a naturalist. One day, years ago, I was in Wilmington doing inventory on a property. I visited with the landowners, and they told me there was an area next to the orchard where lots, maybe 35 apples, were placed in the crook of a tree branch. They said, we think our son-in-law played a joke on us. I went to the area they described and was amazed to see just what they had described. I took a look at several apples and saw they had bite marks. I knew they weren't from a human, but I didn't know what men have caused it. I knew it wasn't their son-in-law. Before I left, I took some of those apples. I was so curious that I stopped by the Southern Vermont Natural History Museum and knocked on the door. Michael Clough was there. He looked at the apple and said that he thought they had bite marks from a red squirrel. But he wanted to make sure. So he went back inside, found a squirrel skull, checked out the bite marks. So the prankster turned out to be a red squirrel, not their son-in-law. You remember that?
I do.
Yeah, it's a pretty amazing man. Michael is now executive director in what is now known as the Vermont Natural History Museum, with a career in environmental and non-traditional education spanning 25 years. Michael has been at the museum since 2009, when he first started as a volunteer raptor trainer. I am sure many of you seen Michael with his live animal program. So, take it away, Michael.
Okay. And I have to carry it, or else I can't stand still or I can't talk. So, how's everybody doing tonight? Thank you for reading, Lynn, because it was something for those of you who haven't read it yet. I'm sure just from that bit Lynn read, there's a lot of education in this book as well. Right now, how do you know there are two different organisms that make up lichen? Did you just all learn that? Mm-hmm. Right? The book's full of education like that, and the setting is so much of it is outdoors. And you know, and actually, when Lynn was asking how long I've been doing this stuff, I was wrong. I was thinking about it today. 30 years actually, I've been doing this silly stuff, and a lot of different aspects of it. You know, we think of nature education or outdoor education. It comes in a lot of flavors. And I've worked a challenge course in New York State. I worked for what my ex-wife calls the P.T. Barnum of birds of prey. Yeah, it's exactly it. Hey, that's the red-tailed hawk, ladies and gentlemen. And kind of through all of it, there's that constant thread of go outside, go outside, go outside. And I think a lot of times, especially for people like myself and like Lynn doing education, we get that education piece going. And it's what kind of tree is this? What kind of bird song is that? And I think for so many of us, and people like Robin in the book, learning the names are wonderful and it's important, it helps you form connections. But you look at just the time spent outside, and there's so much data to back this up. If you have anxiety, if you're depressed, ADHD, autism, I mean, high blood pressure, so many things that afflict us in our daily lives now, going outside and just being out helps it. It really does. It all helps. And when we talk about this, Lynn was like, talk about the work you do with kids. And you know, when I think about, so we had our wildlife festival and we showed the animals, and did that help anybody? I don't know. Maybe. I hope so, right? And maybe they were like, wow, you know, there are snapping turtles that big in my pond. Oh, they're not going to bite me? Okay. Well, maybe that was good, right? That information, that idea of what else is out there. Ultimately, it's that, I think that quiet time, that unstructured time, where in between the words of the instructor, that really we get so much value from. You think about, actually your passage was perfect, Lynn. At the end, she wanted to be alone, so Robin went inside. You really, and think, next time you're on a walk by yourself, hopefully you all do that regularly. If there's no other people around, take a moment, maybe halfway through, and just take stock. Do you feel alone? Do you feel lonely? And I mean, you know, I feel lonely when I'm in the house or when I'm in the office, I've never felt lonely outside. There's always something moving. There's always something alive, right? And E.O. Wilson, a famous biologist, coined the term biophilia. This like innate connection we have with other living things. And I think a lot of it escapes words. It's not anything we can articulate very well. But hopefully, and some of you are like, so hopefully you're feeling it, right? And we feel it as well. And I think that's something that is this thread through Lynn's book, that all of Robin's experiences, in one way or another, they're taking place outside. She's meeting a tree. She's meeting kids in the nature club. And I think it's such a great setting for us to be addressing whatever our personal demons are, regardless of what they are. You know, whether it's ADHD, like I have, or anything else. And to be perfectly honest with you folks, tonight I was expecting to lean really heavy on a live animal. That's my crutch. I bring a live animal, and I was like, hey, look, and you all look at that. We do have one, but we're not going to see it till the end. And the live animals are like my job of trying to foster these connections to nature. The live animal is such a great hook. You know, we had, I just mentioned, it's fresh in my mind. So we had our wildlife festival a couple weekends ago, and we have, you know, the Audubon Society is there, and the Conservation District is there, and oh wait, we also have a reptile rescue, and there's a live bird of prey show. And people come to see those things, right? They're like, oh, when is the wolf showing up? But while they're there, they encounter all these other organizations and all these other things that they're doing. Lynn has come and shown her books and before, and it's just such a great opportunity, I think, these live animals to get people's attention and get up close and have a chance to get that little bit of that biophilia. And typically, we're dealing with animals that do live in your backyard. So if you meet that barred owl that got hit by a car that we're doing programs with, and you hear it outside at night, you know what that is. That animal has already become part of your life. And we'll give you guys a chance for that afterwards. And I should warn you, when Lynn and I were talking about it, she's like, oh, you could bring an owl. And I went, better than that, I'll bring a snake. Yeah. Here's why, because I don't know if I'll get a chance to explain this after, so we'll do it right now for you guys. We can touch the snake, and the snake generates strong feelings in people, both good and bad. Some of you, though, like, I'm out the door when the snake comes out. Please don't, especially if you're nervous, especially if you're like, ew, snakes are slimy and scary and awful. You gotta come see her, please. We've helped a lot of people. Touching that snake, by the way, first step to recovery. And we can do it in a safe way. Trust me, we've done it a bunch of times. So, I don't know, I guess that's the nature portion, and then we'll, yeah?
Where are you?
Oh, where are we? Should we do that?
And
Want me to do that? Do you want, should we wait, save that for the end?
Well, let's wait.
Let's save that for question time. We'll do that at the end.
Yeah.
Because nature, and then, oh, are you?
Yeah.
Okay, and then we've got to get on. We've got two more factors to deal with, right?
Yes.
To address.
So. Okay, I'll just do it like this. All right, I did it. So I took piano lessons until I was 12 and had many fabulous teachers, but I stopped playing. Decades later, I moved my family's piano to my home in Vermont from Brooklyn. I didn't start playing again until years later when I had the exterior of the piano refurbished. Then I decided to take lessons, and my therapist suggested Susan Diddell at BMC. He said that she was a great teacher and that she would help me deal with my emotional ups and downs. I have been taking lessons since, and it is true about her understanding, how understanding she was. When she thought she was moving and stopped teaching, I decided to take lessons with Raquel Moreno, another teacher at the BMC. She too was able to deal with my ups and downs, and sometimes she would suggest ways of breathing to lower my anxiety and just let me play simple songs. When Susan decided not to move, I went back to taking lessons with her, and she has remained a major support. I took a lesson today. Let me introduce Carol Compton, who is the Operations Coordinator and Education Program Director for the Brattleboro Music Center's Music School.
Thank you, Lynn. I think I've known Lynn for about 10 years. I had recently started at the Brattleboro Music Center when she signed up for lessons with Susan Diddell, back when we were at 38 Walnut Street in the converted nunnery. Those days have passed. It was not until much more recently that I realized that we shared not only a delight in the musical world, but in the natural world as well. It's funny how the context in which we first meet people often affects about how we think we know them. But now, with Robin's song, she has brought both worlds together in print, and in the service of telling the story of a young person finding their way through life's challenges. I was lucky. When I was growing up, we spent as much time outdoors in the garden or searching for newts or wildflowers as we did in various forms of music in my family. While I'm sure, I know, in fact, my mother would have been happy had I spent more time practicing, the balance was such that I developed what's been a lifelong love of both worlds. Being a proto-musician and budding naturalist taught me to listen, hearing the melodies in birdsong, the rhythms of the woodpecker and the grouse, and discovering similar themes and variations in the classical and traditional music that I still play. I find joy, peace, and inspiration in sound. As I said, I was lucky. So what in my life now as an education programs director, how do I bring those experiences to others of whatever age? In the work I share with my colleagues at the music school, we're well aware of the transformational power of music. As practicing musicians, we know the impact it's had on our own lives. But what does that really mean? There's plenty of literature out there about the power of music. Instinctively, as humans, we know that certain kinds of sounds make us feel a certain way. For those of you who know the terminology, some music makes us feel happy. It's often in a major key. Other tunes are wistful or sad, typically, not always, a minor key for those who know, or creepy. Just think of your favorite movie score. Those composers are masterful in their ability to shape what we think we are seeing by changing what we are feeling. Scientific studies tell us that exposure to music has actual physical impacts on our brains and bodies, whether describing the triggering of endorphins or the impact of certain vibration frequencies. Science is helping us learn just how music changes us, at least in certain ways. But we also know that there's a lot we don't know. We know music can be a refuge. How does that work? We know it can be a means of communication when other avenues are closed. Think of Alzheimer's, dementia patients who can still make social connections through music, though their ability to speak otherwise is absent. I had the experience some years ago of performing at a center in Keene that provides support for severely injured or significantly developmentally challenged people. And it's a very different experience going to a place like that where you perform. You may get none of the immediate applause or response. You may have no connection with eyes as I can make with you. These are people who cannot feel that. But boy, do they have rhythm, and can they feel rhythm and respond, and you watch their bodies responding in ways that you could not have predicted. You have touched them in some fashion without necessarily having any knowledge about exactly how. Very moving experience and very different from any other performance I will ever give. They're also the experiences many of us have had with music that brings us a sense of peace or some respite in difficult times. There's a reason music is so often part of celebrations of one sort or another, of memorials, and at the other end for weddings. In the book, Robin and Darcey both already have music in their lives. And I would argue that each of them finds it both a refuge and a way of communicating. At the music school, our challenge is to both encourage those just starting their musical journeys and those building on a lifetime of musical experiences to learn how not only to make the music, but to discover what its role is in their lives. Step 1, meet the student where they are. Are they already anxious and now you're asking them to learn something new? Is it a child who finds transitions of any sort difficult, which means that getting from home to the music school is a major event and you need to build the time to cope with that into your lesson plan? Is it can't sit for 20 seconds without wiggling? Okay, maybe you don't work too hard on hand position for that child. Something else. Games? Is it a child who has anxiety about reading and suddenly you're introducing this whole other new written language? They're great card games. Just ask Raquel Moreno. She's got a whole bookcase of different ways of bringing music to students depending on where they are. Do they have trouble communicating? We recently have had a number of students who are not only dealing with trauma, post-trauma, but also English is not their first language, or even probably their second or third language. We can still teach them music. We can still engage them. They can still do music not only on their own, but also in a group with other people. We have an after-school strings program in the elementary schools here in Brattleboro, available for grades 3 through 5. And those kids come in, and every year when we get the stash of registration forms, I like going to the schools to pick them up because I get the school office staff's immediate and generally unprotected reactions to the list of students who've signed up from their school. I can learn a lot in that 5 minutes or less. And there are always surprises. There are always the students who turn out in a group of 25 or 30, it's a big group, who are always the well-behaved ones as far as the school thought. And they get in a group that size and suddenly they are the ones that are twitching or niggling or poking the kid next to them or sticking the bow somewhere it shouldn't be or tapping it on their music stand incessantly. Then there is the child who recently had a great example of everybody I spoke to at the school said, that one's on your list, I don't know, might not work. That student was great. Was able to make logical connections way beyond any of the other youngsters in the room. Were there management issues in helping sort of contain that? Yes, but stuck with it the entire year, played the final performance, it was fabulous. We always, of course, hope that students return to any of our programs, whether it's individual lessons or a classroom setting. But if they don't, they've had a taste. And for some of them, that's what it will take. They can revisit later. I left the piano when I moved to, I left it when I headed off to high school and I came back to it briefly in college. And I spared you tonight. I didn't bring a piano and I didn't bring my accordion, so that wins. But I came back to it. And so if we can bring youngsters to a place where they've at least had a positive experience with something musical, they take that away with them. It might mean that they listen to whatever they're listening to in their ears and their ear pods. They may listen to it a little bit differently if they've had a little bit of musical experience in some other realm that they didn't, some other genre, something they didn't expect to necessarily like. It's not for us just about children, however. We have students starting music lessons in their 70s, 40s, 60s. The oldest student right now is 89. The youngest is 4. So everybody has their own journey to take, and if any of you are closet musicians or thought, I'm not sure that I really want to commit to that, come find me afterwards. Maybe there's something that you could enjoy coming to. Maybe it's a concert. Maybe it's a music appreciation salon. We have a bunch of adult students who have absolutely no intention of participating in student recitals because that means performing, capital P. So we created something that we call a repertoire class. And it's an opportunity to share whatever you're working on in whatever state it happens to be, probably not the finished product, with a group of people who can then share with you their thoughts about how they react to it. Did they like something in particular? Do they want to hear something again? It's been a great avenue for folks who were not comfortable performing in a sort of formal setting to still have the opportunity of sharing their music with others, not just maybe their family and friends, but other folks who are at a similar place in their musical journey. So finding where a student is when they walk in our door and finding a new place for them, a new way for them to experience music, and maybe hear everything they listen to, whether it's a symphony, whether it's the birds on Main Street chattering away, just give them a different way of hearing and interacting with the world. Thank you.
I learned a lot. Thanks, Carol. So let me introduce you to Ann Gengarelly. Since 1980, Ann has been a poet in the schools throughout southeastern Vermont and neighboring Massachusetts and New Hampshire. She's the director of the Poetry Studio at her home in Marlborough, Vermont. During the past 25 years, she has offered after-school programs in poetry and art for students from kindergarten to 8th grade. The Poetry Studio also runs summer workshops that feature poetry, art, and bookmaking with a focus on the natural world. Since 2002, Ann has also taught studio creativity writing classes for adults, gathering together participants ranging in age from 20s to 70s, create a rich and extraordinary community. Ann has published in numerous poetry and professional journals. I am super excited that she's about to publish a new book called Loss and Invention. Welcome, Ann.
Quite a group. It's quite something. I kind of woke up with incredible allergies this morning, so if my voice is hoarse, forgive me. So first I was saying, Lynn, it's such a privilege.
Take the mic.
Oh, Mike, right, I forgot.
Yeah, that's better.
Is that better? Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. It is such a privilege to be here. Lynn called me on the phone and described her book and then how poetry might fit in to the program. I feel like I'm here as an ambassador for the social, emotional, healing presence of poetry in nature. So thank you, Lynn, for this opportunity. As Lynn said, I've worked as a poet in the schools for over 30 years, I think, before the pandemic. And for the past 20 years, I've also taught in the Poetry Studio in Marlborough. The studio's outside our home, so we have many perennial gardens during the summer, really emphasize nature and engagement with flowers and trees and becoming friends with a particular tree or a frog that's sitting on a small pond. I really want to stress that wherever I teach, my emphasis is creating a safe environment, which is vital. Practicing reverence is a soil in which everyone's voice can bloom. And when I started in class, whether they're 5-year-olds or 15-year-olds, I don't talk about poetry. I don't talk about art first. The first thing I toss out is, what do you think about reverence? And they say all kinds of poignant things about reverence. And they indeed practice it every moment that they are there. Everywhere, our youth are hungry to be heard. I'd like to share some words by Terry Tempest Williams. You probably know her work. The author of When Women Were Birds. I feel her words really speak to what I'm trying to say here. What needs to be counted on to have a voice? Courage, anger, love, something to say, someone to speak to, someone to listen. In a voiced community, we all flourish. And I have to say, the sense of community with the young people and the sense of community, Julie's here, we just, with the adults, we too, I think we range from 30 to late 70s, and it's just such a rich way to create community, I have to say that. I'd like to share 2 short stories. So I remember an 8-year-old, I told Lynn this, and she said, you have to share this. An 8-year-old entering the poetry studio in tears. And when I asked why, she said, well, in school, I go from this to this to this to that. And I asked if she might want to take a poetry walk. That's a ritual at the poetry studio. A poetry walk is you're not talking, but all your senses are alive. You look, you listen, you become friends with a tree, a flower. So this girl ended up coming back to the studio, getting drawing paper, and she drew Lewis, she drew Zinnia as characters, as something you might call personification. Okay, we don't need to use that word, but she drew these
Can you?
Try there.
You know, really, you do get I was gonna, we have a black rat snake. It's bigger than she is. It's almost like a black with a white chin. And I was like, well, I don't know. This one's a little scary for people, maybe.
How old is she?
We're not sure how old she is. She's at least 9 or 10 years old, but she was an abandoned pet that we ended up with. But she's a corn snake. This is a snake you'll see in the southeastern United States and pretty much every pet store in the country. Thank you guys.
What kind?
Corn snake?
Oh.
Yep.
So where's your
We're in Marlboro. I don't know how familiar you are in Marlboro. There's the Adams Crossroad.
Is it, that's where you're doing your education program?
Yeah, well, that's our base. We're trying to, right now we just have no staff and we have so many programs running on. We're off-site all the time. So we're scheduling programs on site. And of course, if people want to do field trips or anything like that, we're doing those.
Was there a little tiger?
I'm not paying attention to the director, sorry. But
The snake is posing, but you're not posing.
she's good.
What they eat?
Mice and rats mostly. Yeah, she's a rodent eater. This one eats mice. She's a corn snake. Yep.
And no, can you lower it down?
Yeah, sure.
And where we can find those?
So this snake lives in the southeastern United States. They don't live around here. But she's a lot like the milk snake who does live here.
They don't like winter.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, she wouldn't know how to do winter in Vermont.
Well, thank you so much.
No, my pleasure. Good to see you again.
Do they have a name?
She's Quest. Quest.
Thank you.
Nobody knows that it's the Marlboro Inn.
How long is she? How long? How long?
She's a little over 4 feet long.
How are you? You're married, right? Married.
And this is called.
I am I'm here now.
And that's actually defense. You know, it helps her camouflage. If she's down in the weeds, you know, there's a leaf over here. It's hard to tell where the snake is. She's a corn snake.